how am I gonna record this? So I've officially done it. I've officially eclipsed 1,000 volumes and I don't have enough room for them. Welcome to my channel. My name is Jake, or you can call me Atrocious. And if you're new here, yes, I do in fact have a problem. This past summer, I made a collection video in celebration of 1,000 subscribers, showing off my collection. And thank you all who left feedback on that video, because a majority of it was positive, like a vast majority of it. Again, if you're new here, maybe you need a refresher of what was in my collection 6 months ago, I recommend going to watch that video. It's popped up in the iCard up top. It's just really cool as well to see the growth difference and the differences between the then and the now inside my collection and my different thoughts about my collection. So I don't know, you got time. I mean, I've almost doubled my manga and light novel collection since then. Now, just for transparency purposes as well, all jokes aside, I've been collecting manga and light novels for about 18 months now. And please, warning signs flashing right now, do not use this video as a basis of where you should be at 18 months. Collecting, and especially in manga and light novels, is a at your own pace type of hobby. I personally live in central Kentucky, so just about all my extra income goes into manga and light novels because there's literally nothing else to do here. But now with the disclaimers out of the way, no advertisements in this video unless somebody wants to sponsor me. I guess I have to mention what the actual count is in my manga and light novel collection behind me. And as of the recording of this video, I have 194 unique series in my collection for a total of 1,003 volumes of manga and light novels. For anyone who's curious, maybe didn't watch the video or maybe needs a refresher from 6 months ago, that's a 54.3% volume increase from the last video we did. And a big reason for that, I showed it at the beginning of this video, is box sets like Bleach, Attack on Titan coming back in stock, but we'll get to more of that later. In the previous video, I was up to date or completed about 46% of all the series that I had on my bookshelves. In December of 2022 though, when this video releases, my 103 complete and up-to-date series brings me to about 53%. So a 7% increase. In order to put this percentage to 100% right now, you know, I have 194 unique complete series. I would need to buy about 856 more books. It's a lot, maybe next year. Now, as I predicted 6 months ago, my recent promotion that I got over the summer at my full-time job has led to an increase in the rate of books that I'm buying. But because when I got the promotion, that also meant that in the last 6 months, I've been hiring and training a new full-time employee that replaced me, especially in the full swing of the academic college year, because I work in college sports. My reading rate has really gone down. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I recently set a personal goal for myself over this Christmas break to read more in my collection, to try to catch up a little bit. And at the time that I made that tweet, which you see on screen now, I was just above 37% read. Now again, this being, you know, finals week, winter break for a lot of college kids, at the time of this recording, I've boosted the amount of volumes in my collection that I've read up to 40.5%. Now, a lot of that has credit to my pursuit of catching up in Bleach, so then I can watch the 1,000-Year Blood War arc anime with my brother when I go home. And you know, actually, because there was the Arankar arc and the Lost Agent arc, I might actually make some unbiased review videos of those arcs similar to what I did before, so subscribe if you want to see those. Okay, but I know it's like, it's cool, or maybe a little cringe, that I have a bunch of volumes and stuff. Sure, you know, I technically own a library now, but what are those volumes? You know, what kind of collection do I have? If you didn't see in the last video or don't remember the exact numbers, I've put a bunch of numbers on the screen and I'm going to tell you what these are. The red numbers that are red right now, I posted about 6 months ago for each respected demographic. Now, because Shonen, Seinen, Josei is Shoujo and Kodomo Muke, maybe you're not super familiar with those, and that's okay. There's actually a cool video in the iCard in the top right that give a really good explanation about what these demographics mean, and I highly recommend that you watch it. Now back to my numbers, the green ones right now that I just put put on screen are those that I have at the time of this recording and that breakdown. 642 volumes that I own are shonen, 288 books are seinen volumes, which is my respective demographic being a 26-year-old male, 41 volumes in shoujo, 20 in josei, and 11 in kodomo-muke. Now, in terms of the percentage and the change of the demographics and how much it takes in my collection, shonen consists of 64% of my collection, which is actually a 3% increase from 6 months ago. Now, seinen used to consist of over 30% of my collection 6 months ago, but in my increase of shonen, it's caused seinen to go down a little bit, now at 28.71%. Shoujo has stayed just about the same from 6 months ago, and I'll tell you kind of one of the series that I got really into later in this video for shoujo. So right now it's currently hovering about 4% right now, and it's taken a little bit of a dip, about 0.5%. Now, I haven't gotten much more josei since I owned all of Otakoi in the last video, so that rate has stayed just above 2 at 2.09%. And because Pokemon is usually the series that I let my mother or family members buy for me because, well, they know Pokemon, I've been around it for so long, that part of the collection has also decreased to 1.1%. But in those demographics, I have 8 new genres to my collection, now totaling to 60 different genres of series. And similar to the last video, I'm only going to show you the top 5 because you don't want to see 60 different genres because, like, I don't know, 10 of them, 15 are one volume. These were my top 5 categories in the amounts that they had 6 months ago. And as you can see, there was a heavy emphasis on like fantasy series, slower pace, lifestyle stuff. The present, though, at this time this video releases, has shaken up the rankings a bit. You know, adventure just about doubling in its amount to claim the top spot over dark fantasy. With adventure, fantasy has also surged within the last 6 months and can be heavily credited to series like One Piece, Bleach, Black Clover, 3 series that have really made huge surges in trying to catch up. Now, in the bottom half of this top 5, Supernatural has overtaken Slice of Life's spot. Supernatural with 157 volumes compared to Slice of Life's 117, mostly due to series like Toilet Bound I can never say this right on the first try. Toilet Bound Hanako-kun and Bleach. This is the Bleach collection video if you're curious. My top 4 publishers as well haven't changed since the last time, but I'm still putting them on screen for you just in case maybe you didn't know what they were. And this may not really surprise a lot of people because I feel like these are the 4 big names of publishing manga in the US, and they're all 3 digits as well, to probably nobody's surprise. In terms of the type of books, manga continues to dominate my collection and grow in terms of percentages, which I'll kind of explain here in a second, despite growing light novels steadily as well. Manhwa's pretty much just restricted to solo leveling, and I don't come across a lot of like art illustration books that often. Now, for the versions of volumes in my collection, 690 of those volumes are original editions. Now, not necessarily first print editions, but you know, they look like the regular thing, first edition. They may be 12th edition print or whatever. They're not like collector's editions or anything. Those 690 volumes consist of just under 69% nice of my collection, about an 8% decrease from just 6 months ago when it was at 76%. And the big reason for that is because in this decrease, my collection has more manga in box sets, as I kind of alluded to at the beginning of this video. I have bought 10 box sets within the last 6 months because they've just kept coming into stock, and they're series that I love, like Assassination Classroom. You know, I've really enjoyed Bleach. I'm not done with it yet, but I've really enjoyed it. Attack on Titan. That's 22.13% of my collection, a 7.5% increase from 6 months ago. Now, I've thrown lots of numbers at you. Okay, moving on. You know, you get a lot of books, I get it. So what have you learned? What can you tell us, especially for maybe the newer people out there? You know, in the last collection video, I talked about organizing your shelves and how I kind of split my manga and light novels into a complete section and a not complete section. And that was an effort to minimize readjusting. But as I'm writing this script right now, I literally don't have any more room on my bookshelves. Some of this is just lazy on me because I've just been kind of stalling the inevitable of buying and building another bookshelf. bookshelf, and also just buying a lot of box sets lately. You know, you see up here, you know, I just stack the box sets kind of at the top of the stuff. When I tell you the extreme anxiety that I feel looking at this picture, which is a real picture that was in my apartment like this was about less than a week ago. I feel like looking at this, I'm gonna hyperventilate. But now I don't have that monstrosity and everything is on these shelves, even the one that you can't really like see over here. One method that I've started doing on my shelves in order to save space, as you may be able to see in the background here, is I've started stacking the volumes horizontally for longer series. Now take my collection of One Piece, for example. I'm collecting the single volumes in One Piece, so that's gonna be 101 volumes total at the time of this recording, even longer in the future. For me, on this bookshelf that I have right here, that's about 2 or 3, is somewhere in between there, different rows on a single bookshelf. But as you can see also in these spaces, there's wide gaps like vertically. Like there's a lot of room here. I've got these horizontal, laying flat on their cover side. Now, if laying out the volumes traditionally, you know, standing straight up, as most people probably do, is longer than one of the volumes laying down on its cover, for me, I started stacking at that point. Because for pretty much all my shelves, just like Black Clover here, when you stack all of these volumes up, you save way more space. It has saved me so much room in this, and it's the main reason why I've been able to stall out not buying another bookshelf, especially because my bookshelves, if you could not tell, they're not super deep. Like you can't two stack like a lot of people do, which I actually do recommend, without it like hanging off the edge, which also gives me anxiety. So I highly recommend doing this if you're running out of space. And honestly, like I don't mind the aesthetic. Like I put volumes next to each other that differ in heights anyways, because I do it alphabetically. So having Classroom of the Elite here pretty much reach the ceiling is totally okay in my opinion. It's been a real game changer for running out of room in this one room. I'm gonna have to soon get a bookshelf in another room and start putting stuff on it. Now, another way that you can actually save a lot of space in the future, and this may seem so silly and so obvious, but read your volume 1 really soon after you buy it. And I know, again, this might be silly to make a point, but I'm really feeling the heat on not liking a certain series after reading volume 1 in pursuit on catching up to my volumes read extravaganza that I've been doing. I brought up this point last time that when you're collecting and buying manga, you should try to have like a goal of either maybe 100%ing series, you know, getting up-to-date series before moving on to getting the next one, or maybe just grabbing, you know, a brand new series. And this can even be something like jumping into a store for a shopping trip. You know, maybe I'm gonna buy 4 volumes of manga and I want all 4 of those to be continuations of series that I already own, or I want 4 brand new series to put on my bookshelf. And especially as an in-person buyer, you know, for me personally, if you look at like all my Right Stuff orders that I've ever made, because I do a lot of buying through Right Stuff, it is pretty much all new releases and continuations of series that I already own. But if you look at my Barnes & Noble receipts or my Barnes & Noble trips, there is a good amount of just brand new series that I'm pulling off the shelf. I'm like, ooh, shiny cover. And for those Barnes & Noble trips, when I get a brand new volume, there's been a couple times now where I wait like 3 weeks to read the volume that I picked up, and I read it and I'm like, nah, this ain't it, chief. But I've passed the deadline for getting a refund because I have no aspiration of collecting the other volumes and I just don't want it on my shelf. I gotta save room, especially because manga is usually quicker to read. Even if you're super busy like I am, you know, you can read a chapter a night. That's usually not very long and a pretty good amount in, you know, a span of 2 weeks. You can finish a volume. You're more than likely still going to be able to return that volume and get that full refund, or maybe exchange it for a different series that you want. Now, if you're like me, places online like Right Stuff Anime have a return window of 30 days from the date that the volume shipped. 60 days at Right Stuff if you're a member. And that's really cool, and that's really helpful as well, because a lot of times, you know, the shipping, at least for me, it doesn't take 2 weeks to get to me. So I've got like 3 weeks almost to be able to read the volume that I bought, which is longer time usually. But you really just have to be careful on how often you're returning returning things, because if your rate of return is over 3%, for instance, on right stuff, you're gonna get your account in under investigation or review. And I mean, that's not to say that you're gonna go to jail or anything like that, but if your account goes under review, they may suspend your account or delete your account because they'll be the judge of your fate. Whether you're doing it maliciously or not, it's not gonna matter to them. If they feel like you're returning too much for the wrong reasons, they'll just deactivate you. They'll just get you out of there. Now, let's say none of those tips and tricks really worked for you. Go to your local library. I personally haven't gone to a local library for manga and stuff because mine are terrible. I live in central Kentucky. Manga's not real big here. But I've seen plenty of people both in our Discord server that we have and like mutuals on Twitter that post about like their library finds, series that they read from a library or maybe picked up. You can honestly save a ton of money from local libraries because local libraries, if yours has a good manga section, every so often they'll have a sale of their library books, you know, surplus of stuff. People aren't renting out those anymore, and so they're just gonna get rid of them. And a lot of times that's super derp cheap. Like I'm talking like $1 for a volume that at half price books they would rack up to 15. At least with the library sale, you know, if it is $1, it's a cheap, low risk purchase. Now, the final tip and trick I have is just don't be afraid to drop a series. This kind of feeds into the first 2 points that I made, you know, with like returning stuff, reading it right away and stuff like that, and managing shelf space. And I kind of talked about 6 months ago how like your collection should be your own. It should be yours, your opinion, not just what's popular and that's just what you have whether you like it or not for clout. Because to be honest, nobody freaking cares. You should be the one that cares. No matter the popularity, no matter how much people tell you, bro, just wait to chapter 100, bro, it'll get good then. Like if you don't like the series, just drop it. My best example for this is a 26 volume series that I think right now it hasn't hit 26, but it's finished in Japan. It's got an 8.2 rating on my anime list, pretty good rating. And also an anime adaptation where the anime and both of its seasons that have currently aired average an even higher rating than the manga does. It's an adventure, which was my top category in genre, science fiction, which you probably could have guessed that I like science fiction, even though it wasn't in my top 5 genres. It had all the potential to be one that I really enjoyed. Comboed with so many friends, you know, telling me like, hey, check out this. These chapters are really cool. The panels are awesome. You know, the art is beautiful. The anime is super good as well. Check out the anime. I just couldn't get into Dr. Stone. I went out because of all my friends' recommendations, which I value my friends' recommendations, and that's a lot of times how I find some cool series. And I got the first volume. I didn't read it right away. I went out and got the first 8 volumes before I even read the first chapter. And I was really excited to read the series, you know, so much hype and stuff. But after the first 2 volumes, I was not sold. I decided to stick with it because you hear about the 3-volume rule in manga, which is an okay thing to have, but it's not necessary. And the fact that I bought the first 8 volumes of the series too, you know? Like I have them, I might as well read them. And in truth, I just couldn't vibe with it. Don't get me wrong, I love the setting. If you do not know, the series is about getting stuck in stone for thousands of years because of this world phenomenon, and then having to recreate civilization when you wake up from the stone, and you've got to do it from scratch. Like that is an incredible, excellent setting. I couldn't really vibe with the main characters for the most part. It was just a tough push. I really had to push myself to read those 8 volumes. And now I just have 8 volumes sitting around because I can't return them, and I just really hate selling online. And so if you're like me and you hate reselling manga, or you're balling on a budget, decide after volume 1 if you want to continue something or not. Don't push yourself. And again, you can avoid this issue by going to your local library, or you can even pay like the Viz Media or Shonen Jump subscription for all you big Shonen fans out there. Which, by the way, the Shonen Jump Viz Media subscription I think is turning into $3 now instead of $2. I think they announced in like January, like late January I think it is, of 2023. So go read up on that if you have not. It's just something that I thought of that probably a lot of people don't know about yet because of the timing of this video. But okay, I gave you some tips and tricks. I told you kind of what was in my collection, but You know, my reading, what was kind of the coolest reads that I'd had in 2022? I read a good amount of manga in this last year because some of it I spent unemployed. And also with my grabbing new series left and right, I mean, there's a video that I had where I literally went to like 8, I think, different Barnes and Nobles in a 7-hour driving distance for a work trip. Like I picked up a lot of stuff that I didn't know that I'd enjoy. The first one, A Sign of Affection. As you saw earlier in my demographics portion of the video, I don't have much shoujo in my collection, although one of my 2023 goals for this next year is to read more shoujo and josei. I came across this series just around when Volume 4 released, and I loved it. If you don't know, A Sign of Affection is a story about a deaf girl and a really cool guy who like travels the world, like cool, calm, collected, you know, cool dude, yeah. I don't know, is that cool? Personally, I love representation in storytelling, and disability manga is something that I don't really ever see. Like, I can think of one other series that's like disability, kind of normal, like not fantasy type manga, A Perfect World, a josei. And especially because a big part of this story is learning sign language. I feel like something, in my opinion, sign language is super hard to convey in manga because of these stagnant panels, right? Even though sign language is signs, right? And signs can be stagnant, it also has motion with those signs and expressions that change and fluctuate that really tell like the language. And that's hard to really convey sometimes, I feel like, in stagnant manga panels. But just reading it, like the art is so beautiful. The characters are so cute and good together. Like, look at these two. I would die for them. If you want something that's super unique, relatively realistic, and not like a super flashy romance, this is a really good one to try, and I'm so happy that I picked it up at random from seeing a bunch of people talking about it on Twitter. Now the second one, Summertime Rendering. This was actually one of my goal reads that I had set for myself back in January of 2022. And to be honest, at the time when I had made those goals, I didn't actually know that there was an anime releasing in like the spring, summer, I think it was, somewhere around there. I just really knew that the manga was releasing this year. Now, I said there were a lot of delays with Summertime Rendering, as many of you might know, and I was going to go hardcover, and then I switched to the box sets because I'm impatient and I think box sets are cool even though they're just sleeves. And it's anyways, I saw the anime and read the manga, and wow, I fell in love with this series. I kid you not. This has a really good argument of being like the best dark fantasy thriller I've read. Or maybe it's not fantasy, maybe it's more supernatural, but it is dark and it is definitely a thriller. I'd recommend this to anybody who likes mystery, mythology. I think it's got a little bit of like myth stuff in it with like gods, goddesses. Essentially, this is a murder mystery that has supernatural elements inside of it and, you know, monsters. You could probably take a gander at what it is, but I think it's really cool. And I think you'll like some of it too. I really love the characters. It's got some really good twists in it, and the scene setting is so good in this. But on the flip side, a story that's kind of similar, but not really similar, is another one of my surprise reads that I found in 2022, ReZero, Starting Life in Another World. Now, this is the only novel series that I'm going to talk about, and to be honest, I've actually only read the first volume up to this point. And as everyone says, you know, the Izakide genre is super cluttered, and it's oversaturated with different things left, right, center. You're right. And I started reading the first ReZero novel kind of around the time that Mushoku Tensei Season 1 Part 2 was ending. And I love Mushoku Tensei, so there was a good chance that I was gonna like try to compare the two potentially because they're both isekai in like fantasy settings. But man, Volume 1 was gruesome. It was appalling. It's incredible how it connects with like the power system as well in this series. If you don't know about this series, our main character gets izakide into another world or sent to another world. And every time he dies in this new world, he like resets. But when he resets, there's no explanation, you know, like the video game character, like you died. There's no tip and trick that pops up in the bottom. There's no almighty God that's giving him hints and tips. At least in Volume 1, there is so much unknown about our main character and his new world that he's in. And the best part about this power and this concept is not the fact that, you know, like he realizes, you know, after the first time he dies, he's like, okay, every time I die, I reset. So he like goes out, and every time he screws up, he just dies, or he does reckless stuff again and just dies over and over and over again. He doesn't do that. The ways he dies and how the author describes those deaths are so grotesque. They're terrifying, traumatizing. The main character actively does not want to die. It is such a painful and traumatic experience. The pain and suffering that he goes through, he does not want to live that over again. He does not want to find out a new way that his body can appear on the floor. It is fantastic writing, and I'm actually going to be reading more of it soon, and I cannot wait. I'm literally thrilled. I'm gonna pick up like 1 or 2 more volumes before I start reading it again. Oh, I'm so excited. But yeah, that's it. I mean, that's my collection. First of all, if you made it this far, thank you so much. I appreciate it. We somehow hit 1,800 subscribers when I haven't posted a video in over 100 days. I'm so sorry about that, by the way. It's just work gets really busy in the fall. I also want to talk about manga and light novel goals in 2023 for another video. Not necessarily, you know, like I want to have 2,000 volumes in my collection by December 2023. That would be a lot. I could probably I'd have to finish One Piece for sure, but I don't want to make it stuff like that. I want to make it more of like reading more josei and shoujo, things of that nature. Again, apologies that gosh, it's been hard to make a video lately, especially because I also figured out I use my phone camera because my phone camera is better than my stream camera in terms of creating videos and stuff, and I figured out how to get it working again because there was an update and it didn't work, and I too busy to figure it out. But anyways, I got several ideas in the future. We're going to be opening up a booster box here soon of the One Piece TCG. If you like One Piece, you like collecting cards as I do of anime and manga, your favorite series, make sure to come check out for that video when that drops, because there's some really cool cards in that One Piece set, and it's an actual game too, so I don't know, maybe I'll start playing. I don't know, that'd be kind of cool. But anyways, go check out these videos over here in the corners. You know, they're pretty good videos. YouTube's recommending them to you, and YouTube recommendation is so good nowadays, so you should go check it out. But I hope to see you in the next video, and have a great rest of the day. Keep reading.